Welcome to Sollu Kaburz podcast. And today we are going to do something that as corporate employees, have been missing doing since we are working from home for a long time over our chai breaks, coffee breaks, and whatnot. We are going to bitch about corporate life. But full disclaimer ahead: this doesn't mean that we are commenting on the places that we work. And let me tell you absolutely clearly that I'm completely happy and satisfied at the place that I work. And I speak for myself. I'm sure, Shubham, I don't know how you feel about it. So this in any way is not bitching about any employer in particular. It's just this entire work culture of working in corporate, right? So
Absolutely.
who better to bitch about it than the creator of Corporat Comics himself? I mean, if you are working in IT or corporate, and if you have not followed Corporat Comics on Instagram, then you must be living in a cave. So please wake up and come out of the cave, come out of your well, and have a look at it. And it's our thoughts and It's like Christopher Nolan doing Inception, reading our mind and putting it out on Instagram, right? So that is what Mr. Shubham does. Shubham, thank you very much for doing this podcast. Welcome once again, and please let me introduce you a little more. If I don't know if how you do with compliments, but you are the web comic of the year, Comic Con Awards 2020. Funny comics based on corporate stories, and just how many of these do you experience every day, whatever you post?
Great question, Najeeb. So first of all, thank you so much for having me over. I'm really excited about our conversation today and absolutely happy to always bitch about corporate life, not specifically my own, but I do believe that all our corporate lives have a lot of similarities, and that's because there are so many peculiarities and idiosyncrasies in our day-to-day that
Before we
somebody's got to talk about them.
Yes, before we go ahead, I think it would have been very appropriate to start this call. Like, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello, hello, hello. I'm in the meeting. All right. Sorry if I was on mute. Yeah, sorry. Go on.
No. Please, that's a fairly appropriate introduction to any video call. In fact, I don't know if you saw, I posted a reel about this as recent as yesterday
Hmm.
about if you could see my screen, but I'm hoping you can because you're
Yes.
addressing me, quite clearly.
Yeah.
But
Let us
yeah,
do that. No, let us do that corporate style, right? I mean, why not? I mean,
sure.
I will share my screen and you won't be able to see.
Oh wow,
let's
I love this.
yes let's see what you're talking about, right? Dun, dun, dun. Hopefully you don't get to see this is invasion of my privacy, but I'll do my best.
Well, you
Corporate.
chose it.
Well, yeah, I know. Come on. I'm funnily, I just feel like covering with hand, but that doesn't help. Right, folks, this is the page we are talking about, and this page was created by yours truly. As you can see, I was mentioning what other awards did you win for your page, if you can mention, Shubham?
No, so to be honest, this is a first.
Mm-hmm.
I have been doing this now for roughly about 2.5 years or so. Corporate Comics, of course, was pretty small in terms of the followership till as recent as early 2019. That's
Right,
when it started scaling up.
right.
And last year is when it really grew both in terms of the following as well as the audience love.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, last year was also the year where I thankfully got to be featured in Comic Con as one of the artists where they invited me to be present during all the four Comic Cons. And if you see exactly on this page, right up front, are the pictures from there in the highlights from Bangalore Comic Con, from Mumbai, Delhi, and
Right,
Hyderabad, and that
right.
that I think also gave me the first medium to directly connect with
Mm.
my followers, and not really over Instagram or virtually for that matter. Of course, ever since it's been getting a lot of features and people like you who can relate to the content and also are in the creative fields themselves are beginning to talk about it, highlight it, and I'm getting my 15 seconds of fame on and off. Web Comic of the Year, of course, was one of the big recognitions. It was also a validation of what I'm doing, and that
Mm.
what I'm doing is meaningful in some way.
Right.
Of course, the intention is always to bring in a little bit of humor in our otherwise boring corporate life. And I started with this exactly with that intention, especially for myself. I did not really start it for people. I thought there was, as I was mentioning, there's a lot to talk about. There are a lot of peculiarities. There are a
Right.
lot of idiosyncrasies which need to be highlighted and which need to be brought alive.
Right.
This gave me a good platform to be able to do so. But now with people relating, liking, commenting, it sort of keeps that fuel coming and keeps that engine roaring. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the kind of hobbies that our corporate lives have killed us, right? I'm really glad that you retained your hobby. How did you start doing this? Like, are you an artist from the start? Do you do this artwork on computer? Are you good with your hand? Tell us about your artistic skills and abilities, if you may.
Absolutely. So, like you said, corporate life has killed quite a few hobbies. It was on the verge of killing my hobby of, doing arts. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So, I was always a painter. I was always, into fine arts and drawing and sketching and
Hmm.
painting. I grew up with doing a lot of that in school, doing a lot of that in my college.
What did you do? Bachelor of
That's right.
Technology in Arts.
No, 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 no. Of course, I did my Bachelor of Technology in Killing Arts.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, I, of course, would always be able to find time during
Hmm.
school. Of course, was easy. Who doesn't have time in school? But even in college, even in fairly exhaustive, very elaborate curriculum, I was still able to keep up with some art.
Right.
With, of course, the corporate life, there was always that desire to want to do it. But I was not able to, thanks to, of course, a typical 9 to 5, which was never a 9 to 5. It was always a 9 to, I don't know, 9 maybe.
Nine
And I'm talking
to
about 9 in the morning and 9 at
Yeah,
night.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Have you ever pulled a 24-hour? I had done once. Did you ever pull a 24-hour
wow.
once? Yeah, just
No,
once, not much.
thankfully not.
Oh,
Thankfully not. I mean, I've pulled a close enough to 24 hours,
mm,
but that was, of course, in preparation for something. It was almost the D-Day
mm,
for one of the visits we were doing, and
yeah,
it was close to 24. But yeah, I've definitely pulled a 20. That, I mean, I
yeah.
don't know. Is 24 hours a thing in corporate life?
No,
Is
no,
that
no.
like an
I no.
achievement
I
which I should?
in my 5 6 years, I proudly wear the badge of only pulling it once, 24 hours. It was just one of these. Uh, uh, I won't call projects, but one of these tasks that was literally on fire, and it was, you know how it is. They want it
Yeah,
immediately.
yeah, absolutely.
They were chill
It's
last
always
week.
on fire.
Yeah, it's always on fire. So
It's always urgent.
yeah. So oh, how appropriate is this? I just opened this for myself because this is literally speaking for myself. The substantial initiation of the expansion of the project, which we would like to inculcate in that kind of shit, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, I think, what's even more peculiar is every department has their own jargons,
Yeah.
which they sort of, have copyrighted. So,
Right.
with HR, I've never heard HR talk about meetings. It's
Mm,
always engagement.
yeah.
There was this one time I was in a meeting, very interestingly, and this is long ago. This is approximately 9 years ago.
Mm,
And the HR was addressing us. And
right.
by mistake, she ended up saying, "So let us meet." And within a second, she realized it. So she corrected herself and she said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I meant let us engage."
Right.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's so particular and peculiar to that department that it almost feels like you're not doing a great job if you're not using the jargon right, I guess.
Have you watched the movie Big Short? So
No, I haven't.
okay, so there is this line which says people from this movie is about finance domain, corporate finance
Sure,
domain. So
sure.
it's
I mean,
like,
I've heard of it. Yeah, I
yeah, so
definitely know of the
people,
movie.
yeah, so people in the finance make the jargon more difficult because they want the customers to leave them the fuck alone. So that's that's a great line.
Absolutely.
That's a great line that they have.
Completely agreed.
Yeah, that's a great line that they
Completely
have.
agree.
Yeah. So you started. So you were saying you started drawing in the engineering. Then
Yeah.
yeah.
No, so as I was mentioning, I was always into arts. I
Mm,
wanted to pursue it even while I was working, and I was struggling to.
mm,
I tried to, start doing some bit of acrylic on canvas, and that's a very elaborate setup. You need to get your
right.
canvases, you need to get your respective paints. It takes some energy, some effort. So it's not something you can just pick and start doing.
Mm,
It was more of a weekend activity for me, and that also I was struggling to keep up with.
mm,
This seemed like a very interesting direction where I could also pursue my arts, also have a voice, and at the same time, not have a very elaborate setup. Just pick whenever I had even 15 minutes to scribble and then move on.
Right.
With that, of course, and with also that was also around a time where my love for web comics was growing. I was always into these physical, not comics, but graphic novels, and some of those were extremely inspiring. The likes of Amartya Satrapi's, Persepolis, Anar Spiegelman's, Mouse are books which are not just graphic novels; they're actually more literary than the most literary pieces of
Yeah, can I
writings
make an
themselves. And
illiterate suggestion, Supandi?
yes, please do. Oh no, absolutely.
Yeah,
All of the Supandis and the Chacha Chaudharys of the
yeah,
world included, and bring in your super commandos through to those as well. I
right.
wasn't, to be honest, very much into them, but when I
Mm,
picked up literary fiction as a genre and I started reading a lot of it, there was always that desire to want to try it.
right.
But when I saw illustrators like Gavin Ong Tan, who's the artist behind Zen Pencils, and this person, I don't know if you follow, called Grant Snyder, who
Mm-hmm.
has this handle called Grant Draws and also publishes now. Some of his books are absolutely inspiring and beautiful, and a very different illustration style. So
Right.
when that as a genre was, of course, growing, and Indian artists were also, coming to the scene with an Alicia Souza,
Mm.
also gaining popularity. There was Brown Paper Bag also, quickly growing on Instagram. I just thought this could be a very interesting medium to explore.
So I
It
have
also
one
seemed easy.
one
So,
question here. So before the existence of
sure.
Instagram and Facebook, what was web comic scene all about? I mean, they were just on website, is it?
So a couple of places is where I've seen them exist. One,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen webcomics existing a lot on these blog or blog-like websites.
Right.
So people would either make their own page.
Right.
Uh, However, there also, there's some of these platforms which exist more in, the rest of Southeast Asia, and they're
Mm.
now, popping up in India as well, which are specifically for webcomics.
Right.
In fact, now India is having its share of a lot of these websites where people share their own pieces of writing, and those are also now branching out into web comics because they see this as a increasingly
Mm.
popular medium, and it's of course gaining traction every day. But you're
Right.
right, before social media it was available, but it wasn't that
Mm.
democratized. It wasn't
Mm.
really available for everybody to just pick and share and sort of gain a following, or at
Yeah.
least find their tribe, as they say.
I
So of course, there was a big role of an Instagram's existence, and me being able to spot some of these, look at it as an interesting medium to even try,
mm.
and had it not been some of these social media channels, I would not have even picked it to start with.
Right. If there are three people in this call and they were all not on the mute, so it would be like three people on this call, three people on this call, three people on this call, three people on this call. It's just this particular comic reminded me of this. Yeah,
No,
I mean,
absolutely. Or unless it's something's cooking, in which case you'll
yeah, and
mostly
PJ
only
say,
hear whistles and.
yeah. Otherwise, it's always like, "Mummy, mummy, mummy, chocolate." I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
I
mean, I
mean,
agree. I have nothing against kids, but
yeah.
I mean, yeah, kids on calls could be a little annoying. Sorry,
I
no offense to
kind
kids
of
on
I,
calls.
I'm kind of amused sometimes because it's this work from home. What is it's giving is kind of a window to the other person's life, right? It's like when you're doing a
Absolutely.
video call or meeting. So yeah, it's very amusing. And yeah, so I just wanted to ask. So where did your when did your Instagram page blow up in a sense? Because you almost have what 100,000 followers. So what was the
Yeah.
moment that it actually blew up big time, or a bunch of moments?
So, to be honest, there wasn't a moment. I mean, I
Uh-huh.
wish there were. I
Hmm.
really sought that moment where one of my posts would go viral. And not like, my posts haven't gone viral.
Mm.
My posts have. But there wasn't that one moment where my fans increased overnight, even by, I'd say, 2000.
Mm.
Every post of mine brings me some new followers. And that's
Mm.
because of a couple of reasons. One, the biggest reason is the number of shares it gets.
Yes.
It's very interesting that the number of likes you're seeing on my posts. I, for most of my posts, get an equivalent number of shares, or maybe even higher for some, which is
Hmm.
very, very rare. I haven't seen that ever, and that's possibly because a lot of people relate to the content.
Right.
Now, the other, of course, interesting sub point of that is these posts are not always shared on stories,
Right.
because some of these are about things people would not openly want to talk about.
Yeah.
So they're mostly shared in DMs, and
Yeah.
which is where it doesn't really see that big boost of followers suddenly coming in by with every single share. It's mostly like, I share it with you, you like it, you check it out, and you sort of then
So your
start
jokes are
following,
circulating like WhatsApp group jokes.
which is very weird because
Mm.
weird in the sense that there's a good part of some of these being WhatsApp forwards, but what's really pained me lately is the extent to which people go to crop the handle out. I've seen the most innovative ways of people plagiarizing content in the last, I'd say, 5 to 6 months.
Mm.
And I've done everything possible except for putting a watermark, which I don't want to, because I
Mm.
believe that every artist should have the right to have their art presented without having to really compromise on the quality, which I believe watermarks do.
Right.
And I try to put my handle in the most prominent places. I started
Mm.
putting it in the corners early, and then I realized that's the easiest to crop. Then I started putting it in places like these, which I thought would not be easy to crop, but
Right.
you won't even believe the extent to which people go to crop my handles. In fact, if you go right up top, there is this post which I very recently made. In fact, I think the third post from the top.
Right.
People actually. I'll tell you what extent people went to crop it. So this one, my boss through 2020, the one on the top
Right.
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 Because the handle was in such a prominent place, and there was no other easy way to crop it,
Mm.
people actually cropped the entire headline out. So everything above what pandemic, people
Oh
cropped
yeah,
it
yeah,
out and
yeah, yeah,
started
yeah, yeah.
mentioning in the copy. So,
Right. That's
so
sad.
yeah, I mean, good thing people actually share it on WhatsApp. Of course,
Mm.
they should. Why not? But without the handle seems a little bit of a pain. There's only little I can do about it. In fact, because you were asking,
I mean,
was there a certain moment?
yeah, I just wonder. Sorry, we'll get back to that.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, how do you crop this? I mean, you very cleverly posted your handle right under the title, because the title is the key, right? I mean, what do they do? They paint
Yeah.
over this, is it?
No, so in this case, they actually cropped the title itself. So
Aye,
everything above what you
aye, aye,
see, they actually cropped the title, and they actually mentioned the title in the copy. So I would share
aye.
it with you on WhatsApp, but I would mention my boss
Mm,
through 2020, and I will just keep, only the
got
rest of the
you,
image without the handle.
got you. Mm.
So,
You were talking about the moment.
yes. Yeah, so the moment where I thought it is starting to blow up was
Mm.
when I actually got one of my posts on WhatsApp via somebody. Now, the sad part was that was the time where I did not even put my handles on my posts. I
Right.
mean, it was really stupid of me. I know, it was foolish, and I was. It wasn't that it was only the first few comics. It was possibly, I
Mm.
think, 40, 50 comics into corporate comics journey. And I got one of my posts, and then I realized, oh damn, if people are sharing it, how do they know it's coming from corporate comics? And that's when I actually got conscious to even start putting the
Mm.
handle. Now, of course, I mean, that also doesn't always work, but at least to some extent, there is a little bit of credit and recognition which it ends up getting me. So I'm assuming I'll have to live with that and live with whatever plagiarism which exists.
Right.
Every artist does.
What is the number one criticism that you get, right? So, for example, the criticism that I would see coming for in your route is that, corporate. We all bitch about corporate life, but corporate life has brought like millions of Indians out into middle class, right? So,
Yeah.
what is your comment on that? So, why bitch about
No,
it?
so
Let's be thankful.
absolutely. Oh, absolutely. So to be honest, I've been very lucky to have not been trolled yet, or I haven't received like a barrage of, criticism till date. In fact,
Yeah.
there may be two or
Who
three
doesn't hate
specific
his
moments I
job?
can.
Come on.
Absolutely, absolutely. So again, the
Right.
only times where people do point out that why sort of make fun of something and make it even worse for somebody.
Mm.
I actually have a very very different point of view on that. I do believe in exactly what you said. I love my job actually. I
Mm.
actually quite enjoy it myself, and I do think that I've been able to fulfill a lot of my needs, desires, ambitions because of my job. So
Yeah.
the commentary is not on the corporate life or the existence of the corporate life in itself. The commentary is on a lot of very weird, peculiar things which exist in the corporate life, some of which could be done away with. Not all of them also need to be done away with them as well. And more importantly, the intention is that I very sincerely believe if you can't laugh about what you do, and if you
Yes.
can't laugh about the ironies of it, then you're never going to enjoy it. Then you're really in it too deep, and then you'll always end up hating it. So if you're really pointing out that this is making it worse for you, then maybe you're in the wrong job. Then
Yeah.
maybe you're in it too deep, and maybe you need to sort of look at it from a little outsider's perspective to be able to sort of laugh about it and then move on. So I do believe it's more to bring in that smile on somebody's face, making it a little easier, bringing in that fun of what they're doing, so that the next time they do that thing, hear that phrase, get exactly that message from their boss, the client sort of passes them and says exactly the jargon which I've sort of made fun of.
Right.
Instead of sort of bothering them, it should make them smile a bit and make them recollect this and just sort of take it a little easier.
Have you ever gotten into any trouble for your comics?
Not really. Again, very. So, see, the interesting bit is my company. Everybody follows me. My boss's boss, the leadership, all of them follow
Wow.
me. Now, the good bit is that they do also understand that a lot of it is coming in good humor. A lot of what I put, and especially the boss bashing bit, and I'm very, very lucky to have a very good boss who's very understanding and exactly the opposite of what you see here.
Yeah.
But the
Boomers,
fact is, I worked in the
absolute
corporate life.
boomers out here. Right.
I agree. So I've been in the corporate life for 10 years now. So people do understand that it's not just one boss I've had. I've seen many of them. And not all of them have been as great, or not all organizations I've worked in have been as amazing as the one I'm working with right now.
Right.
So so I mean, which is one of the reasons why I try to not reveal my workplace. I have nothing to lose, as I said, because most people in my company know that I make these comics and follow it. In fact, a lot of them share it on the company groups whenever they find something amusing and interesting, and we joke about it.
Why you're not revealing, sir? Is your company not hiring right now? So
my company, I get enough pings on LinkedIn, to be honest, about my company hiring or not hiring.
I was joking.
Trust me, I don't need my Instagram page for that. Though it is a fact that I do get pings on Corporat Comics, from people who want to be hired without even knowing the company I work for. And it's it's all right. I do understand this position they may be in. But my page is definitely not for people to find jobs. If that's a message which your podcast is able to give people, right out loud and clear.
Right. Why do you think, if I get into a deeper question, why do we think we end up here? I mean, is it because we are coming through an education system that really teaches nothing else? Because apparently, ideally, the education system should make you explore various, the point of the education system is to help you figure out what you can do or what you would like to do. So how it does that is it exposes you to various subjects and various fields, right? So, but we are in this weird education system where our only focus is on science and math, and obviously you will get a factory of corporate workers if that's your education system, right? So what do you think? What is your view on it?
See, you're right, but I do think it's easier said than done. So on one side there are a lot of these statistics which say that people who are right now above the age of 30, only a very small percentage of those are pursuing things which they really love doing, and those may include not just corporate jobs, but of course mostly vocations and some of these alternate careers. While they say that people who are right now 15, I think there was some stat, and again I don't want to misquote here, but a pretty significant number, close to 2/3 of them might end up pursuing what they really love doing. And therefore I do believe there is that change which is coming through.
Mm.
And that could be a potential change in the education system which is bringing it. It could also be a lot of awareness of some of these careers which did not exist but
Mm.
are now sort of lucrative in themselves. I
Yeah.
mean, look at being a creator on
Yeah.
Instagram to start with, right?
Right.
And I mean, creator is the wider term I use for somebody who's an artist, somebody
Mm.
who's a travel photographer, somebody who's a
Dintak
musician,
Puja is also
somebody who's into
creator.
fashion.
Come on.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, there are weird ones too, but
Yeah.
the bigger point is that some of these are legitimate career
Yep.
options now.
Yep.
And you or I may be too comfortable in our jobs to really be able to take that leap of
Mm.
faith and sort of plunge into wanting to do this full time. I mean, I've been asked that many times. I've till now not gotten not been able to get myself to even consider the thought of doing this full time. And
That
I
is
have
scary.
140K followers now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's definitely that deep rooted belief in only a certain career path which can give you a certain kind of legitimacy, happiness, as well as, of course, the money to pay for it.
Mm.
Is definitely something which is been in our belief system from the grassroots. I'm sure education system also has to blame for that,
Right.
but having said that, I'm sure with the change, with more of the people starting to do it, with this coming in as an inspiration, I get inspired by some of these who have quit their jobs, and if at all someday I'm able to, I'll pretty much have all these people to thank, and maybe
Mm.
that's the change we are starting to see.
Right.
So again, I hope there is change in the education system, but I do think there is also a lot which will come about just by the democratization of the internet in the
Mm.
country itself, right? So
Mm.
that itself will change part of it.
But here's the thing, because I asked this question because I'll tell a story of mine. When I was working in my office, there used to be this guy on a minivan who used to sell dosas
Mm-hmm.
right in front of the office, and thousands and dozens and hundreds of people flocked to his dosas, especially in the evenings and the mornings. One of these stalls, right outside the office, and
Sure, sure.
and we were just we and I know at least half of my floor would have thought that, yep, I wish I had a stall like that. I'd quit this job. I wish I had a cigarette shop like that. I would quit this job. But people don't understand.
Yeah,
To buy that minivan, it costs you 20 lakhs. To set up the
yeah,
kitchen, it will cost you 5 lakhs. So eventually, it's this comfort zone this thing provides, right? That this is why we take all the
yeah,
shit we take in, right? Because you're used to a lifestyle right now. Now you have your home right now. You have a car which runs. Everything is connected to your salary, and you are
yeah.
you are a salary slave right now. I mean, there's nothing. I don't know how to get out of it. You know what I mean?
You're absolutely right. See, again, now that's a very, very deep question. I'm
Hmm.
sure we shouldn't delve into the thought of is money the prerequisite for happiness, or
No.
can it
Yeah,
be?
yeah.
So all of that, of course, all of that aside, I
Hmm.
do think that specifically the example you gave,
Hmm.
I do think people want to jump into some of these without knowing the preparedness it takes.
Hmm.
If you're really serious about it,
Hmm.
and that's the only thing which I would say.
Hmm.
And if you do think that that's what you really want to make a career in, that's what gives
Hmm.
you happiness, and that's exactly what you want to pursue for the
Hmm.
long haul,
Hmm.
then put in the hard work, bring in all the resources, try to slog it out a little, get a flavor of it, put it out there, get a sense of whether it works or not. And if it does, then absolutely, then why not? So
Hmm.
I mean, am I right now thinking about making corporate comics my career, or turning to do this full time and quitting my job? Not at all. That's also because I love my job right now, and I'm quite happy doing that, and therefore this is something which I enjoy doing as a side hobby. Plus, I do like the fact that there is no pressure on me to really make money of it, so therefore I
Hmm.
don't necessarily have to put out content which I otherwise don't like. I just put out what I like. But do
Yeah.
I want to do it sometime in the future? Maybe yes, but maybe what I'm doing right now is just a preparation for that. Maybe me reaching a certain number of followers, me starting to sort of explore the idea of what all can be done, launching
Hmm.
corporate comics merchandise to start with,
Hmm.
participating in a Comic-Con, etc. Maybe all of that is adding up to someday it being a legitimate jump for me. And I don't know when that will be, but I'm sure that will be sometime in the future.
You speak of merchandise. I love your logo. I mean, it is just so quintessential corporate. You just had a mouse in the shape of a mouse, which is fantastic. So this was your first logo, is it? How did you get this idea?
Yeah, so in fact, pretty much going back to where corporate comics started, I was mentioning, right? I thought comics could be a very interesting medium
Mm,
to put my ideas out there. I
mm,
actually started this page as what I called comic pencil. I did not really have a theme in mind. I just thought I will put out stuff from my daily life, and if you therefore really go deep down in the post, I'd say the first 20, 30 posts are random. They don't have the mouse, they're not
mm.
corporate at all.
Right.
One fine day I was sitting in one of my boring meetings in a company I used to work for. In fact, that was my last month in that company. I had quit
Mm,
to move on, and I was really really bugged with exactly all of those very jargony sort of typical no output kind of situations
mm,
in those very long meetings. And I was just scribbling, and I ended up drawing sort of me in that situation, where I just ended up drawing a rat face, right? And
yeah.
um, the whole thought was, hey, we're all rats, and I'm just sort of sitting in a meeting like that. And
Oh, that symbolism I didn't understand. We are all rats at the end of the day.
oh, okay. Oh,
Okay.
wow. Well,
I just thought it's a mouse.
congratulations.
It's just
Yeah,
mouse. So what is corporate life without a mouse? So I thought, yeah,
yeah.
that makes
So
sense.
that's why it's Corporat Comics. It's not corporate comics. And
Oh, right. Oh my God, I'm
I
obsessed.
actually would think that that's the first thing people would notice. So I think you're a
Mm.
little late to the party.
Oh yeah, right. Rat
Yeah,
Daniels. I love
but
this. I love this meme. We'll get back to your thought. Do you remember your first office party? Because I remember mine, and I don't drink, but the friends of mine who drink, they literally took. I mean, they are bachelors at the end of the day, and they literally took
mhm.
every drink that was left over in the party home. Like this, I'm talking about a carton of beer cans this size, right? So, ever done
Oh
shit like
wow.
that?
I mean, sort of, yes. Not
Yeah.
taken it home really,
Mm,
but taken it back to, so in conferences, taken it back to the hotel rooms to finish literally the last drop. Absolutely,
yeah.
and much worse. I mean, and much worse as well, which
Yeah.
I don't think I should really be talking about
Yeah.
in open.
Right.
But yeah, definitely done worse.
And and why do office outings and parties get boring after like 3 4 years? It's just the first year that looks fantastic, right? Because we have never seen life like this, right? We come from gully cricket, and to see the freaking 5-star restaurant conventions and all that, right? And the first office
Absolutely.
lunch. Oh, it's just mesmerizing to go there, and then after a few years, it's like this is all farce. This is all this peanuts.
Oh yeah, yeah. See, I'll tell you all of these things, right? The first time somebody hands you over a laptop, and
Yeah.
they tell you that this is for free,
Mm.
that's where it starts. Like, oh wow, I must have arrived in life because I'm getting a laptop. Of course, they don't tell you all that right then, and you get to hear that in the sessions later that it can only be used for office work. You have all your restrictions. I think some
Mm.
organizations don't even allow people to take laptops back home, which is criminal. But
Mm.
there are caveats like that. But yeah, I mean, it sounds all very exciting. The first time they bring in an induction meeting where you also get free lunch from
Oh
office and
yeah,
all of that big ceremony.
great cake.
It seemed like, oh wow, this didn't seem that bad. They talk
Yeah,
poorly of the corporate life, but it sounds exciting. I mean, I can do free lunches, I can sit through sessions, and I can do with a free laptop. Why not? But yeah, so I think it hits you I think about 3 months later. I think it's the same for an office conference as well. Like you said, you go and you're like, wow,
yeah.
free
It's like
booze.
it's like your movie. The movies are coming to life, right? It's like whoa, I'm in a conference. There's a round table freak. Now I've got to speak.
Absolutely.
People are in ties.
No, so I mean, even before that, I'll tell you, in my B school, in the internships,
Mm.
they actually first got us to a 2-day induction, and I won't reveal which organization, but it's a very reputed
Mm.
large corporate in India,
Mm.
and they got us in the biggest possible 5-star hotel, and you're like, oh
Mm.
wow, I must be amazing to be deserving this, and I haven't even started working. So if this is the privilege I'm getting before even let's say I'm out of my B school, I must totally be killing it right after the B
Right.
school, right? So you're right. And I mean, the fact that somebody is giving you a 5-star hotel stay for free, and that's
Mm.
something they don't count as your CTC. I'm sure
Mm.
we love everything for free, and
Yeah.
some of these things which are not accounted for, of course, are all I'd say CTC elements to maximize.
Yeah, and then and that thing gets exaggerated when you go on site, right? When your first foreign trip, and then the flight, and then all that.
So I haven't, to be honest, I mean, I've not worked in IT,
Mm.
contrary to a popular perception.
Right.
I mean, I do know
Uh-huh.
that a lot of people assume, because I do have a lot of followers from the IT sector, and a lot
Oh,
of
no
them, I
wonder.
mean, and I'm an engineer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the same, and it's
Yeah.
particularly pronounced, I guess, in
S-
the IT
Same,
sector, and which is
same shit,
where
same
it's
shit,
also
different
relatable.
snow. That's what they say. Yeah.
Same shit, different snow, but a lot of it, because there are so
Oh.
many people in the IT sector
Right.
that of course, there's a lot more sharing which happens there, and so on and so forth. But
Mm.
I mean, I'm an engineer by education, and I've heard of these offsites and onsites and all of
Right.
these things. And I do understand, but yeah, I mean, I've had an international stint in my first sort of traineeship in the first year itself, and I know how
Mm.
that feels. The company is flying you down to
Mm.
international waters in itself is amazing.
Yeah.
Two, the even better thing is that you don't have to take care of your visa. I mean, you just send somebody a passport,
Yeah. Exactly.
they get it done. So it all seems so fairy tale, right?
Mm.
And on top of it, they pay you for having food out there every day. There is a DA, there is God knows
Yep.
what all. So I mean, yeah, one can get used to that. I can
Mm.
totally understand why
Mm.
IT loves its on sites. From what I
Absolutely.
understand, they are anyway particularly long, right? Some 5-6 months people stay out, even longer in
Mm.
most cases. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
no wonder
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. And it's like, what people don't understand is the amount they're spending, they're extracting 5x from that, right? That is the part that
Yeah,
people don't understand, right? Because we marvel at other, like, even the folks who go to on-site, right? They marvel at their manager, senior manager. Look at the senior manager. He's going in business class. Whoa, he must be getting great wine. Whoa. Well, dude, the reason why they're sending that manager in business class is because they're sending him to get a project that's 10 freaking 100 times worth of that, right? This is nothing.
absolutely.
This is an investment. This is an investment in you, right? The reason why
Yeah,
they're giving you a good hotel stays, because to make sure you're comfortable and you work effectively and give them that 10x
yeah,
value that they're expecting, right? That is the part that people
absolutely.
don't understand. It's freebies. There is no such thing as free lunch at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you what. I mostly agree, but I do have a little bit of a addendum to that. In fact,
Mm,
there's a comic I remember having made long, long ago.
mm,
I don't remember exactly what I had put down, but
mm.
the thought was how the bosses think, oh, I've hired him for X, but he doesn't know he's worth 2x because I'm gonna get 2x the work out of him.
Right.
Uh, and on the other side, the employee also knows, right, that oh, they're giving me X, but they don't the work they're making me do is much more, so I'm only going to do half the work. So I
Mm,
think it works both ways as well. I think we also somewhere do know, of course with exceptions. I do think the organization, the leadership, the people who are paying always have the upper hand, and therefore they always do get the better side of the bargain. But
mm,
even with that, it's not that unless you're really into it,
mm,
it's not that they're going to be able to make you work for much more than what they're paying you, because you also
mm.
know your market value to some extent. And I know people, especially in specific sectors, really not therefore giving a damn after a while, not paying too much attention,
Right.
not putting in that much effort, because you're only paying them that much. So it,
Yeah.
it works both ways, I guess.
Right. What do you have to say about the work hours, right? There is no such thing as work hour culture in India, right? Because if you go outside,
Yeah,
people log in at 9 and they just log off at 5, and it's pretty sharp that they log off at 5.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
we who don't have that here talk. Do you have any comments? Have you ever made any comics on our work culture and this rewarding and incentivizing incentivizing long work hours, this appreciation for people who sit long, and all. Did you remember that viral video that went viral with I believe there was this guy who just
It was TVF, I think, where this
exactly
guy talks about doing at
Naveen
6 o'clock,
Polishetty.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Naveen
So
Polishetty, yes,
yeah.
yes.
So do you have any comment on that? What do you have you ever made any comics on that?
Oh yes, a lot of them. In fact, a
Mm,
lot of my comics are about getting those urgent and important calls at 9 o'clock at night, or
mm,
always getting work right before the weekend is about to start, or weekend work, evening work, and all of that, right? So, and I completely agree. I think that's one thing which is particularly pronounced in our country.
mm,
I do, I have worked across teams where sharp at 5 o'clock, like you mentioned, people would get up and walk off the meeting.
right.
That's exactly what the culture is.
Mm,
And you may feel offended at that, but the fact is they're living the life which you aspire to live, and you possibly will not be able to for
yeah.
at least the foreseeable time. So I completely agree. I do think it's terrible. That's possibly, in my opinion, the worst thing
Mm,
about the Indian uh, uh, corporate life.
mm.
I mean, there may be other things like politics, bureaucracy, all of that, but trust me, that exists everywhere.
Yeah.
It
Politics is
doesn't
just
just exist.
human beings being shit. That's all. That extends. Right. Yeah.
I actually think politics is just human beings being human beings.
Yeah.
It's not really corporate life. I think it's
Mm,
everywhere.
yeah.
You become an artist, you
In family,
pursue that as a
in
full
freaking
time.
families,
Yeah,
we have that. Yeah. So
absolutely. So, I
yeah.
mean, that's just very natural. But
Mm,
something which is so objective and concrete, which is a work hour, which is as
mm,
specific as it can be. And you're right. It all starts from lauding, people for staying up late. It all
mm,
starts from appreciating, people putting in hours versus people really doing the same thing in lesser hours, and so on and so forth. Uh, I do think on that. I've tried to fight the system in a couple of places where I worked.
mm,
Didn't really work for me,
mm,
and unfortunately, I ended up sort of moving out and finding myself a better
mm.
job where that is a given.
Yeah.
Thankfully, in my present job, there is a lot better work-life balance in that sense. But that's also because I've sort of tried to slog to find that kind of a job, and I've
Mm,
done that for years and lived
mm,
in that culture for me to be able to then choose, let's say, a company which I want to work for, or at least have a select set of companies to apply for. And it's ironic that most people realize very late in their career that that should be a big criteria for finding a new job, and not really the higher
mm.
money which they
Do
bring.
you think that is the case with any country that has excess of labor, right? For example, China is not
Oh
really
yeah,
like not really famous with great labor laws, and they torture the workers. I mean, India is a lot better than China. I'm not nowhere comparing India with China, but
yeah.
there's this something peculiar about the ignorance of employee welfare in a place where labor is freaking more than abundant, right? Because at the end of
Oh,
the day,
absolutely.
if you don't do it, there will be there'll always be someone else, right? So
There'll be
it's not
somebody
the
else. Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
it's not the case in Western countries. So they only have limited labor, and if they have to keep them at work, they have to satisfy them. There's no other option.
You're absolutely right. See, I'll tell you, it definitely starts from there.
Yeah.
If there are so many people, and I do think in our country the value of life is lower than the others because there are so many of us that even a few of us,
Value of
not
life,
existing would be
labor,
fine.
work, everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I completely agree. Having said that, I'm sure there are examples of countries where labor is aplenty, but there is a certain degree of
Mm,
work-life balance as well. I mean, I shouldn't be talking the likes of, say, a Singapore, because I
mm.
know that
Singapore is
that
Bangalore.
possibly is not the best example.
Singapore is
Yeah,
Bangalore.
I mean, exactly.
Yeah.
It's maybe they have the advantage of a certain kind of governance, and
Mm,
also a certain kind of
yeah.
a scale and size. But
Mm,
therefore, the question is it possible? I do think it is possible in a country like ours as well. Of course, you're right. It is ingrained that if you won't do it, somebody else will,
yes.
and therefore there is that much competition. But I do think it also starts from employees up, right? If let's say you know that you're not going to do it, and and somebody else will, and there's that insecurity, then you would yourself start doing it, and that's exactly where it flips.
Yes.
So I do think that if more people start being very particular about, let's say, a certain work hour or a certain kind of a deliverable, and sort of stand by it, and I'm starting to see a lot of people do that and still do well. Just that itself, I think, could be a good change starter. Of course, it may not always be possible in every organization,
Right.
but if an organization doesn't appreciate you for doing the work, yet sort of not putting a time beyond the work hours, then maybe that organization is not right for
Do
you.
you think this will ever become a political issue? Because it is actually a political issue in various countries, but who gives a fuck here?
Um, See, I don't think in our country, at least anytime soon, it'll become a political issue. Again, there are bigger problems to solve,
Yeah,
and
that's the issue.
especially because you gave the China example.
Mm,
Uh, as a country with a certain type of government, right? They all slogged to take the country to a certain,
mm,
economic level. And there also, it's not that it is particularly better, right? So at least together they rallied towards making the country a certain, or taking it to a certain economic stature. Maybe now, or maybe after a certain time when it has reached that state, is where they can start thinking about
mm,
problems like work-life balance. Maybe that's when
mm.
they start talking about it. But till then, I guess
Here,
there
people
are
are like,
bigger
first
problems to
things
solve.
first. You're getting 50K, and that's not the case with 80% of the country. What the fuck are you complaining
Yeah,
for? That's the usual
absolutely.
answer, and it's kind of fair enough, but it's weird.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's fair.
Uh-huh.
I definitely think it is, but I also don't think it is weird. It is just but natural. And I mean,
Mm.
we have enough problems with there's too much population. There
Oh yeah,
are
yeah.
there's lack of education. So
Mm.
as of now, you're right. Just the fact that you have a job, just the fact that you're getting something is looked at
Exactly.
as as a
That in
favor.
itself, yeah.
So absolutely. And that will always be till there is a set of people who don't have a job, and therefore
Mm.
there is that set of aspirants who are always willing to come and replace you. Till
Exactly.
everybody has a job, there will always be that threat, even for the person who has a job, to sort of be able to retain it, and therefore
Mm.
be able to value their own job more than, let's say, somebody who doesn't have it, and so on and so
Mm.
forth. So I do think there are those to solve before we really get to
Mm.
trivial things like
Yeah.
work-life balance, or people working
Right.
long hours. I think
Speaking
I think
speaking of
India
long
will live with
hours,
that.
speaking of long hours, uh, there is a thing about, we say 9 to 5, they log off sharply in Western countries, but they actually work from 9 to 5, right? We here, let's be honest, we chill the fuck out sometimes, right? We come on, we take half
Oh,
an hour.
absolutely.
We take
Absolutely.
we take half an hour for a dosa in the breakfast, take an hour for lunch, take half an
Yeah.
hour for smoking. I don't smoke, but do shit.
Yeah.
Go to that stall right down there on the Friday afternoon. We sometimes kind of chill the
Oh
fuck
yeah.
out. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
to be devil's advocate.
Oh no, you're absolutely right. I'll tell you. It goes back to the same thing, right? If you're getting paid a certain amount,
Mm,
and you sort of cut corners somewhere, I do believe that at the end of the day, it balances itself out.
yeah.
You're always going to do the work which you get paid for. So, which is sort of something the organizations should sort of pay heed to, because they know that they may pay X and expect work worth more, but at the end of the day, it is going to be the inefficiency which will bring about the actual output to exactly that. So it definitely works both ways. And you're right.
Mm,
I know people who've worked in India for their lives, and then sort of moved out, to some of these Western countries,
mm.
and after a while, I mean, while they love the fact that there is a 9 to 5 and it's very strict and it's very sharp and people are very, very
You
professional,
have to be
they
effective
also
as hell.
absolutely. I know they hate it because
Mm,
they love the fact that there's 9 to 5, but they also hate the fact that everybody's. I mean, the same thing, which is how the culture is so professional, is looked at in both lights. People actually don't like the fact that they don't have anybody to talk to in office, but the fact that
it's very becomes very
it
robotic.
obviously
Robotic.
points out to the fact. it becomes very robotic. People don't take lunch breaks apparently.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
a lot of them, just because they have to leave at a certain time, end up having working lunches. It's a very common thing.
yeah.
People don't sit with each other over lunch, because lunch is just going, eating, and coming back to work, and not really sort of taking that chai sutta break, and then grabbing a cup of coffee, and just sort of then spending an
Oh,
hour ranting about it,
the
before you
life
play a game of
lessons you
table
get in
tennis,
those
and then come back
breaks.
to work.
The life lessons that you get in those breaks. Oh my God.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. I mean,
So
you get some
yeah,
people's life
yeah.
change, right? You get one great investment idea, some great property suggestion, some great stock you get. I mean, things that
Oh
you get
yeah, yeah.
introduced to, right? I mean, I can't imagine. See, one thing,
All the latest sale.
yeah. I mean, it's like uh, I love work from home and all. Like I love the fact that I can be from office to home in 1 second, basically, in pajamas. But I miss these
It's just that
interactions.
you don't know
Yeah,
which second.
yeah. And like, what I miss about going to office is, as much as I hate commuting, I miss those interactions. I don't miss the interactions regarding work. I miss the interactions between work, right? It's
Yeah.
just you stuck for 20 minutes and you just my friend shows me a funny meme and it just lightens my mood immediately. That doesn't happen from
Yeah.
work from home. No one is
Oh,
forwarding memes
absolutely.
on Microsoft Teams and freaking Skype, right? So I miss those. I really miss those.
No, same. So to be honest, the thing I miss the most about my workplace is
Mm.
actually the foosball table. Uh,
Mm.
and foosball is a game which you can't play alone. So it's not just the table; it's the people who come with it.
Right.
And I completely agree. If at all this work from home ends anytime soon, and I'm sure it'll end sometime, hopefully not soon. But the premise is, would I want to go back to work? And I've always given that. Would I want to go back to office to work?
Mm.
Uh, Maybe, but would I want to go to office to work every day?
Exactly.
I mean, it's a
I think
scary idea.
it's going to be a flexible world, I believe.
I hope so. I mean,
Yeah.
I do think very, very sincerely, and all the more so that the future of work is remote.
Yeah.
If we've been able to function as efficiently, in fact, more efficiently
More. Yeah.
from work, and in fact, there's more that you're able to drive. In fact, the businesses are catching up.
Yeah.
Most industries are coming back. Of course, with some
Productivity has
uh,
gone up apparently. Yeah.
is yeah, I mean, it's productivity. Of course, there's the flip side of it, where I think just about an hour ago, I got this new news piece about how in India people are working on an
Exactly.
average 32 minutes more,
Exactly.
because of
Because
the work from home
because
scenario.
you can't shut the laptop and keep it at office. That's that
Absolutely,
simple. Yeah.
absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. So, I mean, yeah, you're right. So, with all of that, I do think there is that human interaction which is missing.
Mm.
And it's not just in office. While of course in office is a part of it. Some of these socializing with your colleagues beyond work,
Yeah.
some of these conferences which we just joked
I'll
about, I do think they work. To be
Right.
honest.
I'll tell you something. The reason why I started this podcast is because my friend introduced me to this thing called podcast, which I didn't even know existed in 2019. He introduced me.
Wow.
He was sitting right beside me. He introduced me to Joe Rogan's podcast, and
Okay.
that is where I got to know there is this thing called podcast. Right?
Wow.
This would have never happened if I was working from home. Why would he forward me a podcast on Teams? Right? And you just don't feel like forwarding stuff. It's this personal sharing is just something different about it.
Yeah, yeah. No, exactly. So maybe the other, I wouldn't say funny, because some of these could be, they're all meant in good. There's a lot of good intent behind it. But some of these team virtual catch-ups, I don't know if you've had those, right? Where you're spending 30 minutes, 1 hour with your team because, of course, you haven't caught up. Uh, I mean, it's good that somebody is doing it. They've got to be done. But the fact that you need to formalize it, the fact that it's another
Yeah,
meeting on your calendar, is itself ironic. So,
yeah,
however much you try to loosen up, however much you try to create that atmosphere, the moment that it's an invite on your calendar,
mm,
the moment that it's a pre-scheduled X to Y hours, and the moment that it happens at a certain cadence every week, fortnight, whatever that cadence
yeah.
your team maintains, is
Can you imagine?
it
Can
just
you
kills
imagine
the
in real
fun.
life, like, bro, every Tuesday 2:30 you're coming to cafe sharp, sharp, okay, sharp. beyond 3:30, I'm meeting someone else. Okay, can you imagine
3
happening this in
o'clock,
real life?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
4 p.m.
Correct,
having lunch, bro.
exactly.
I'm having lunch. Okay, right. So
No,
it's
I'll tell you,
yeah,
some of these things also, more than the reason they are unscheduled in office life is also because, a lot of these things which, make our mood go from A to B in a typical day also don't look at a time and come, right? So if I'm really pissed about, let's say, a certain client interaction, I need to rant it out then. And therefore, if somebody is sitting next to me, I just have to turn my face and do it. Versus
yeah.
now, I first have to go and check somebody's calendar and see if they're
Is he
available.
online?
If
Is
at
he
all they are,
away?
absolutely. So, and I mean, by the time you do that, it's
Hmm.
time for your next meeting. So
Yeah,
that never happens, and you can't obviously make a note of all your rants, and then at the end of the day, you go and sort of discuss those out. It doesn't work
exactly,
that way. So
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
so you're absolutely right. I mean, that's the bit which I miss the most.
Hmm.
I don't know if there are ways which are gonna, come where you can
Hmm.
sort of work virtually yet have the luxury of being connected
Right.
and be able to sort of rant at any time. If
Right.
if there's an app,
I
for
think we should do.
ranting,
Actually, I
please
think
let
we
me
should.
know.
I think we should go to office just to rant and just work from home.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There should be like, I think, a ranting day.
Ranting day.
See, that's the catch, which is where I'm a
I
little
think Monday would
uncertain
suit.
about whether it'll work.
Monday would suit.
Monday is the best. Monday
Yeah.
definitely work. I actually think Monday should be a global holiday. So
Yeah. Oh,
Tuesday would work.
that's
Yeah.
okay. Then Tuesday would become
Yeah.
new Monday then, if that's the case.
Yeah, but I mean, we'll look at it when it does. Till then, I think,
Right.
I've started to think that, it's not just the first day of the week
Mm.
that it becomes so painful. I
Mm.
also do think that there's something to do with Monday specifically.
No,
I do,
I think it's because the weekend is just so far away that you just
yeah,
become
and it's
like,
so short.
man, like yeah, it's like man.
Absolutely. So, we've had weeks where Mondays have been off this year, a couple of long
Mm.
weekends where Monday, happened to be the holiday. And
Mm.
those weeks have been amazing because you're absolutely
Yeah.
right.
Oh,
We don't have that.
I always take Mondays off. You know why? Here's the thing. Uh, if you have some planned leaves, right? People take Fridays
Yeah.
planned leaves. I never understood that thing.
Fridays are worse to take
I
off.
can.
Yeah.
Fridays are fun to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fridays are absolute fun to work. And the feeling of
Absolutely.
going home on Friday evening is the best feeling ever, right? I just cannot
Absolutely.
fathom how people take Fridays off. Monday is the best day to take off.
Absolutely. Exactly
Yeah.
what I was coming to. I
Mm.
definitely think, Fridays in themselves have that Friday feeling, right? You do know that the weekend's just around the corner. Your
Yeah.
meetings are also sort of, a little more eased out, or at least, I don't know if it's just because people are in a Friday mood or if they planned it like that.
Yeah.
But completely agree.
Friday, Saturday trail version, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Except for people who work on
Oh yeah.
Saturdays, by the
Oh
way,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because, there's a bunch of that. And, that's another thing
Hey,
which
we had
pains me
college
a
and
bit.
school on Saturday. I'm not sure about you, but I cannot
Oh, really?
imagine how I lived 16 years of my education life freaking going to college on Saturday. I just cannot. I mean, my cousins laugh at me from US. Like, bro, you have school on Saturday? Like what? Like my school and college were working on Saturday. And have you ever heard about this weird second Saturdays?
Oh yeah, I mean I've only heard about it, but
Okay, so I've
it's
experienced it live, and that is the best Saturday I used to look forward to. And I cannot believe I've lived 16 years of my life doing some shit on Saturday instead of eating mud, right?
oh,
So
wow.
I'm so addicted. I feel bad for school kids. You do know that there are schools that do work on Saturdays, right?
I mean, honestly, sounds like a very alien thought because my school was shut on Saturdays.
It Yeah,
Uh,
it's alien for
but
me
I mean,
now. Yeah.
to be honest, actually, it's not too alien. Also, now when I think about it, my mom used to. I mean, my mom's a teacher, or she used to be a teacher,
Hmm.
and she used to have, in one of her careers, a second Saturday off, while
Yeah.
all the other Saturdays were on, or some weird stuff like that. Uh, Definitely, something I don't want to
I'm
even get
I,
used to or think
I'm
about.
I'm pretty sure banks work on Saturday.
They do.
Yeah.
But banks, in fact, oh yeah, my dad's a banker,
Hmm.
and in fact, he just retired, and he used to have Saturday half days for the longest time. I think they changed that later
Yeah.
to, I think, some specific Saturdays off. I think the first and third off, or some weird stuff like that. But honestly, I that's one criteria before I pick any job. I don't think I'll ever pick a job in my life which has a
Oh,
Saturday working.
absolutely, absolutely. Unless you're making me fly, I won't pick a job, right? Unless a job is big.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
and one more thing about the days is like how our parents, assuming that most of our parents are retired, and mostly mums who are housewives, right? So
Hmm.
my mom's one, and they just go to weddings on Wednesdays. They just go, just like that. They have no one to ask. They have no one to take permissions from. They just go,
Uh,
and they're like, yeah, mom, nice life, right? I mean, because I have to plan like a couple of months ahead, like, okay, Wednesday and Thursday if I take off, what the fuck is the profit for that in me, right? So how is that coinciding with Sunday? And this our entire life is just revolving around weekend, which
oh
is
yeah.
sad. I mean, ever since freaking Henry Ford introduced that to us from his Ford line of car. Do you know that history, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I do.
And weekend life it is. I mean, but it's not Indian style of working, right? Because this 9 to 5 also is not Indian style of working, right? Indian style of working is you
Oh,
work in the,
absolutely.
I mean, you look at shopkeepers, for example. They work from morning to lunch, they have a nap in the afternoon, they
Yeah.
work from evening to night, which is kind of like Spanish style as well. They call it siesta, I guess, in their work
Which is
culture.
the Spanish style.
The
Which
Spanish
is the
style,
Spanish style
siesta.
indeed.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
this is England's industrialized revolution work culture is what we are following, because
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. So you're absolutely right. In fact, if you especially go to, and I don't know if it's directly correlated to that, but there are some states which have a pretty long afternoon siesta, especially the likes
Mm.
of a Goa. I'm hoping or assuming the Portuguese brought it, and that's possibly why it's such a long afternoon nap they take. I think some other countries in Asia also have this concept of an
Mhm.
afternoon nap. I think Japan in parts has it, even though, of course,
Oh,
their work culture is very, very
let's not
different.
talk about
Yeah,
Japan's
but
work culture,
exactly,
please. I mean,
exactly. That's what I was saying. So, I mean, I love Japan. I'm very fascinated by that country. But,
same.
when you see people, so I happened to go to Japan about 5 years ago.
Mm.
And, everything is nice, especially when you're a tourist,
Mm-mm.
you love it. But there are a couple of things which were very, very strange and scary at the
Scary,
same time.
scary, very
Yeah,
scary.
one was, I don't know if you know, they have this concept of they actually have these standing I don't know what they even call it in the metros
Mm.
on the corners. They have these standing
Mm.
sleeping clothes of sorts, where basically you
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
are
yeah, yeah, yeah,
standing
yeah,
in
yeah.
and you can sort of put your head in that cloth so that you
Right.
don't fall while you're sleeping and standing.
I know, I know, I know, I
And
know.
that's
I've
where they
heard
get to
that.
sleep. And the other thing which is very peculiar is you actually see a lot of people, especially when you step out late in the evening, or let's say post 10, 11. A lot of people very well dressed, and Japan is particularly well dressed. They're all
Mm.
always particularly well groomed, mostly in their formals.
Mm.
So you'd see these people in beautiful suits passed out on the road.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
that's a
yeah, yeah.
very common sight. Every
Not
15
because
meters,
they're
you'd see
drunk,
one.
huh? Not because they're drunk.
A lot of them because they are drunk
Okay, they are
also,
they
but
are
of
they
course,
are drunk because they were overworked.
absolutely. They're drunk because they overworked, and they're
Yeah.
drunk because they had a really long day and they went and they drank,
Mm.
and
And
they're overworked
and there's
and they
one more,
drank, and so on and
yeah.
so forth.
And the weird thing is they work for the same company for freaking entire life, even if it's private. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So Japanese, again, a lot to do
They
with
don't
the
switch. Our
culture and
Accenture, call Infosys, call Capgemini, like yo,
yeah.
party, 10
So
lakhs, 20 lakhs, 25 lakhs. Nah, that's not happening in Japan.
Not at all, not at all. And I mean, see, in their defense, that's
Mm.
also one of the reasons, why the country's prospered so much.
Hmm.
They've actually come from where and then built, the country back literally from, I won't say massive, but
Nuclear
uh,
bomb ashes.
but from nuclear bomb ashes, yeah, for the lack
Yeah.
of a better and
Mm.
more politically correct term.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, it's actually something which has been again a part of their education system as well.
Mm.
If you hear about it, they'll tell you how for a certain time in their curriculum, they actually only are taught moral values and
Mm.
other ethics and the ways of being. and that's so ingrained that there is that sense of obligation and responsibility towards the country and towards making it work, and therefore they work not just for themselves but
I would
for the
also,
country, which is
I would
strange.
also, yeah, I would also use the word brainwashing, but yeah, we will not get into that conversation.
Yeah,
We will,
yeah,
yeah, we will. I want to argue that Indians work as hard as Japanese. It's just that Indians, for them, things are harder outside work as well, right? Like for example, like take freaking traffic, right? Spend freaking
yeah,
4 hours. You can finish
yeah.
Game of Thrones in how many days? 4 episodes every day, 6 seasons. You do the math. You can
Absolutely.
finish Netflix after Netflix, 4 hours in traffic. And the weird thing is, people mostly cannot afford homes around offices because they are central business districts. They'll buy home in
Absolutely.
some freaking domi, Thane, and your office is in South Mumbai, and it's just
Yeah.
and the grind, and then the trains. I mean, I can speak for Bangalore as well. I mean, it's not rosy out here, right? You must be, aware of the legendary Bangalore traffic, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I was there. I
Oh
used to live
yeah,
in Bangalore about 3 years ago, so I was
yeah.
there in
You
that
have to.
traffic every single day.
Oh yeah, you have to carry some brush and towel just in case, right? So, and a
Yeah, yeah.
can just in case, you know. So yeah, I mean, the Indian slog, man. Indian slog, not only in office but just the outside slogging is as hard as inside slogging, and it's just, and I feel sad. They get underpaid. I mean, basically we are all underpaid labor, right? Because they cannot, they wanna
Absolutely.
they wanna avoid paying dollars, so that is why they come to us, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
we are massively underpaid and massively overworked inside and outside the office. I mean, if France started counting the commute hours as work hours to office, you're aware
Yeah.
of that, right? So can you imagine if that happens to India? Like, we'll be rich.
No, see, I'll tell you, commute. So, okay, the two parts to what you said. One is the commute hours and the slog
Mm,
outside. There are geographies, regions, cities where that also exists. Even the likes of say New York and
mm,
London have
mm,
the same situation of having central business
mm,
districts. And if you really want to live anywhere beyond just toy box of a house, you
mm.
obviously have to look for it, which is even with the best of the transport about a 1.5 2 hours away from the city.
Yes, yes.
So, does that kind of a pain exist in some of these bigger cities elsewhere
Mm,
as well? Absolutely. I
mm.
think we have the worst of all worlds. We have like a
Yeah.
terrible infrastructure to support it,
I mean,
and at the same time we
you
slog
speak
to
of
very
London.
hard.
Sorry to cut off. You speak of London. If you skydive in London, anywhere at any point in the city of London, London is as big as Delhi. You skydive
Yeah.
at any point in London and land, there will be a metro station at 2 kilometers radius.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Less than
Yeah,
2 kilometers radius
less than one
actually.
kilometer. Yeah, it's like 500 kilometers of underground or some shit. I mean, rough numbers.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I think that's exactly where we have the worst of both
Mm,
worlds. We have a terrible infrastructure, so
mm.
our traffic slogging is not the sitting in a metro, and therefore when you sit in a
Exactly.
metro, when there is a scheduled commute, you can also plan to do things in it.
Exactly.
Your Netflix episode watching could happen if you're not driving, right? You
Mm,
you can read a book on the way if you're not driving, and so on and so forth. There's a lot you
yeah.
can do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in our country, the public transport is fucked up. On top of it, you have like too many
Yeah.
cars. Everybody has their own.
Yeah,
So
I feel bad for the guy who's using the car. I mean, for 4 hours, he's literally doing what ants do: stay in line, just stay in line.
oh, absolutely,
At least when
absolutely,
you're in a public transport, you can read something. Obviously, we can't read much in public transport because just we're moving a lot. But you know,
yeah,
you have your own thoughts when you're not driving, right? So it's just
yeah,
sad. I mean, I don't know when our lives will change, but all we can do is just find humor in it. And that's exactly what we do. That's exactly what Shubham Khurana does on his
absolutely.
wonderful corporate comics page, which we have shared screen like we do in every other corporate meeting. Hope you get to follow his page. Hope his page provides you humor. Thank you very much, Shubham, for doing this podcast.
Thank you so much, Najeeb.
If there's any other platform apart from Instagram where people can find your work, you can go ahead and mention now.
No, so first of all, thank you so much for having me. I really had a lot of fun. Of course, a lot of these views are unadulterated, so please don't take them too seriously. And Instagram is where I primarily put my content. I am on LinkedIn and Twitter as well, but
Hmm.
honestly, I don't post there. It's a lot of effort, and more often than not, I see plagiarized versions of my comics there anyway. So I don't even
Right,
think I need to post
right.
there. But That apart, I also recently revamped my website and launched a pretty elaborate merch store called Corporat.in. So feel free to check that out. All of the stuff is on the same lines, the
Right.
same dry, sarcastic corporate humor, and
Right.
with the same intention of bringing a little color and smile into your otherwise boring
Right.
corporate
So
lives.
you
So
do your
yeah.
illustrations in which app exactly?
I use this app called Procreate on the
Oh, right.
iPad.
On the
So in
iPad,
fact,
right.
I do. Yeah. So I use the
You're
Apple
doing
Pencil with the iPad.
you're doing what Steve Jobs hates, pencils on a pad, but he
I mean,
hated
if
pencils.
Steve Jobs hates a lot of things which Apple would be doing right now, so
Right,
again,
exactly.
that's a different chapter
Yeah.
in itself.
Yeah.
But having said that, I do believe iPad Pro and Apple Pencil is the best thing Apple's done in a while, and I'm a big Apple
Mm,
loyalist
mm,
for various reasons that I can fight that Apple
mm.
versus other companies battle any day. But I
Have you
do
stood in
think
line
this is one
like
of
a
the best versions.
Apple boy, or you paid anyone to stand in
No,
line?
no.
Yeah. Just
Thankfully not. Thankfully not.
I'm kidding.
Not a fanatic yet. Yeah,
Mm.
still a fanboy
Right,
only.
right. That's it. That's it from the Sollu Kaburz podcast, ladies and gents. Go follow Shubham on his page, Instagram page, Corporat Comics, as he calls it, as everyone should call it, as everyone's life is. And yeah, shoot some job requests on LinkedIn for him. That's it from the Sollu Kaburz podcast. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, only on LinkedIn. Bye.